Oh, yes. Welcome to the final quarter on the CBS 8 app. I am Jake Giriani. That is John Howard. And welcome back, Mr. Karthik Venkatraman in the house here in the flesh, fresh off of vacation. We got no time to hear about your vacation. Zero. I'm sorry about it. No,
it wasn't that interesting anyway.
We're glad to have you back in your seat to hear the hot rants, the hot takes.
Let's go.
I didn't even actually bring this up to you guys before we started this show. We're getting set to talk a bunch of Padres. But I do want to make one quick comment because as we record today, it was the day that the MLB came out to the PA and said, hey, we want a hard salary cap, a salary floor, 50-50 revenue share. All I'm going to say on that before we get too deep into it in another show is this lockout's about to be as ugly as we think it's going to be, fellas.
Yeah, the Players Association came out and put the first offer down, trumping the owners by 24 hours. And obviously the owners are not going to want what they offered up. And I think you're right. It's going to be ugly. It's going to delay next season. It's the big question is how long will the season be delayed?
John, you may get your wish. You're always asking for a shortened schedule. Yeah. You might get one.
John's going to get a 20-game season at this rate. Look, obviously, it's early talks, but yeah, this ain't going to be pretty. So, with that being said, even though the Padres are playing horrendously right now, better enjoy these games, better enjoy these moments, because who knows if you're going to get a 2027 Major League Baseball season. But we do have to talk about the 2026 season, which is hitting quite a rough patch for the San Diego Padres. We've thrown out all the numbers all over CBS 8, whether it be live television or here, but a brutal stretch since Friday against the A's. They are now 0 for 33 with runners in scoring position. They just got swept for the first time this season. They have lost 4 straight. They no longer are second in the NL West by themselves. Fellas, it's a pretty ugly patch for the San Diego Padres.
Well, what I don't understand still is that they're above 500. I don't.
They banked those wins.
They're banking the wins, which all wins mean the same, whether it's in May or in September. But we are 1/3 of the way through the season, 113 games to play, and they're sitting there 7 games above 500. It feels like they've been playing 7 games below 500, and their run differential is -1. So they're making the most of their runs by being 7 games above 500. But it's just unbelievable how I guess the pitching staff and the managerial decisions and the nice breaks all seem to be falling their way, keeping them above 500. And if the playoffs started tomorrow, they'd be in as the number 2 wild card.
That's pretty much what happened at the beginning of last season, right? They banked all those games at the very beginning of the season instead of finding some little stretch after the beginning part of the season. And they banked those wins all the way to the All-Star break, got better, and then ended up being a playoff team. But, the thing with this team is when it comes to runs scored, they're one of the worst in the MLB. And when it comes to runs allowed, they're one of the best teams in the MLB. But once again, we've been harping on it all season long, right? We're 1/3 of the way through the season, and the stars still haven't showed up like the stars. Fernando Tatis Jr. It's crazy how good his on-base percentage is, but he's not hitting for power. We all know that. Jackson Merrill hitting a 200 batting average. Manny Machado under 200 batting average. And you're sitting here and you're thinking, okay, well, the reason why they're getting these wins is because like Gavin Sheets, Miguel Andujar, those guys have come up with some big games, providing big-time moments that have allowed the Padres to win some games, plus all the clutch wins that they had earlier in the season. But it continues to be for me, these star players have to show up. I've tried to be patient, but at this point, we're 1/3 of the way through the season. So now it's just like, what's going on? If you look at the WAR for like all of the Padres players on their team, which is wins above replacement, calculated by, the wins that you bring, the runs that you bring in and how much you're contributing to your team winning, none of them have a 1 WAR on the offensive side of things. There are on the pitching staff, but nobody on the offensive side. The highest WARs on the team are 0.8 by Ty France and Xander Bogaerts right now. So, if that goes to show you, I think Manny Machado is like a -0.5 and Nick Castellanos is a -1. So this team's got to really start stepping up with those guys that they thought were going to be key players this season.
It's pretty simple, I think. This is going almost exactly as we have talked about all year long, where we said, look, this is a roster with really good depths. As you mentioned, Karthik, there have been people maybe we didn't think that were carrying this offense, but it felt like you built this teetering point. Yeah, you banked those wins, but now the checks are starting to be cashed, right? And now we're starting to catch up here. Other teams are. And you're at this teetering point where you're like, yes, these guys helped keep it afloat, but if the stars don't start doing their thing, you're going to tip all the way over. And the thing that's a little concerning to me more than in years past is the idea that we had signs in years past. Okay, yeah, maybe Manny was off to a slow start, but there were moments here and there. Yeah, Jackson Merrill was hurt. All right, whatever. it just feels completely dead this season. We really haven't gotten any signs out of any of those people yet this season. And it's something that Manny Machado talked about yesterday. I was at the Phillies series finale, and we spoke to Manny and a couple other players, and he brings up the exact points we were talking about.
We're trying to get back on track. I think a lot of these guys in here who've been carrying the load earlier in the year, we're starting to feel it as a group overall. So we got to pick up the slack. And I know that our offense isn't, playing to our capabilities, but we're confident that we stick to the process. Things will start turning around here, and when they do, hopefully it stays.
I feel like we did a good job getting on base, getting stuff started, and just couldn't capitalize. I feel like kind of all series, so just kind of 3 games there, a little scud, but get back at it after the off day.
There's a lot of ups and downs, a lot of roller coasters, and it's not for the mentally weak. So you gotta stay mentally strong and keep moving forward and keep grinding every single day.
Craig, there's been a lot of talk about Steven Souza Jr. kind of considering the struggles offensively. Can you kind of enlighten some of us just how much of a role he has with the approach on offense and during these struggles, what he's trying to do to change things up?
Yeah, in my opinion, it has nothing to do with him. This is the Padres hitting. This is the Padres organization and how we go about taking at-bats. It's on all of us, and more specifically probably on me. I'm the one in charge, and we've got to figure out a way to hit.
Those coaches don't grab a bat. It's us grabbing the baseball bat and going up there and putting on our gear and, facing Christopher Sanchez today. It's on us to go out there and perform.
All right, so look, Steven Souza Jr. has been a hot topic, right? Offense struggling. People want to talk about Steven Souza Jr. There you hear kind of Craig Stammen taking the blame, the players taking the blame, taking the heat off what is the most volatile position in all of Major League Sports, the hitting coach.
Yeah, I think Machado said it when he said we're feeling it. That pressure is the thing they're feeling. Fernando Tatis Jr., for example, with the slugging and the home runs, he's come close a couple of times. He's got to be feeling it. Like, we're this far into the season. He doesn't have it. He's come close a couple of times. He hasn't gotten it. Manny Machado, Jackson Merrill. Merrill strikes out on some bad ones. Machado's not hitting well. They have to be feeling it, and that pressure is something they got to deal with. What are they going to do? That's the question.
Yeah, and I don't want to be a negative Ned, but at this point, a third of the way through the season, it's a down year. It's a down year for Jackson. It's a down year for Manny. It's a down year for a lot of these guys, and they might come back and play stronger to the end, but right now it looks like we might have to settle in for the long ride.
It's going to be a long, long ride if those things do not pick up for the San Diego Padres. Stick with us. We will be right back here on the CBS 8 app with plenty more Padres talk coming up right after this quick break. And welcome back here to the CBS 8 app. In the final quarter on the CBS 8 app, John Howard, Karthik Venkatram, and Jake Ariani. We have been ripping the Padres apart lightly in the first block of this show, and we have plenty more Padres talk to get to here. We talked a little bit about this upcoming schedule, and it's not necessarily the easiest thing in the world you're going to be looking at for the San Diego Padres. The Nationals are a better team than years past, but before we get into the Nationals, because I do want to talk about it, then you got to go to Philly again. This is the team that just swept you, the first time you've been swept all season. And then the Mets come to town, and they were a train wreck early in the year, but they're playing better baseball. Look, I know a lot of this is just narrative. I know a lot of this is a little bit of clickbait. But if it doesn't go well against the Nationals and James Wood launches like 4 homers and C.J. Abrams is out there stealing a bunch of bases and hitting, and they lose like 2 or 3 to the Nationals, you think it's panic mode now. The skies will be doomed in Padre land if that happens.
Oh, well, I think that could be happening. But, Jake, I prefer to look at things through the rose-colored glasses. But the thing that you mentioned about when you're playing the Mets, if we've been playing the Mets a month ago, it'd be almost an assumed sweep. And playing the Phillies a month ago. But now the Phillies are playing well. Mets are playing better. I am really looking forward to the June 2nd through June 4 series at the Phillies. Since the Padres have just been swept by Philadelphia, what happens when you turn the tables? And yeah, there's 3 games at Washington prior to that, but very intrigued by the 3-game series in Philadelphia coming up.
I'm very intrigued because the Padres play better on the road this season than they do at home. This season, they're .500 at home, and they have one of the best winning percentages in all of baseball on the road. So maybe we see some Padres uptick and maybe get some wins because they're playing away from Petco Park, which hasn't been so kind to them this season.
The series against the Nationals is a very meaningful one for a lot of folks on the San Diego Padres, including their manager, Craig Stammen.
Yeah, I think it's a series that a few of us on the coaching staff have circled for a while and are excited to go back to a place that we considered home for a long time. Randy Knorr, Bobby Henley, myself, Nick Pivetta, Lucas Giolito, all his former Steven Souza Jr., forgot about him. All of us, got our taste of the big leagues with that team and had a lot of success in that stadium and a lot of good memories. So it'll be good to go back. It's always been good to go back, even as a member of the Padres, and this will be a different, way of going back for me, but it'll be equally as fun.
Equally as fun. Yay, flowers, woohoo, have fun. You better get 3 wins. You better at least get 2 wins. That's all I'm saying right now for the San Diego Padres. If you want this fan, but here's the thing I was talking about earlier on the Locked On Padres podcast. This feels very like the Padres are going to go out there and win 4 out of 6 on this road trip. How many times have we seen like the Padres hit this rock bottom, this doomsday, the season's over, and then all of a sudden they rip off 4 of 6 on a road trip. They're going to score 30 runs against the Nationals, and everyone go, look, the offense is fixed and we're fine, right? There's your glass half full, Howard.
Well, the other glass half full is they are 7 games above 500, third of the way through the year. So that means they're going to finish 21 games above 500. You do that, you're what?
Sure.
91 and 71. That all but guarantees you a wild card spot. But the thing is, the numbers can say anything you want them to say. They have lost 6 of 8. Do that the rest of the way, you're going to be getting a high draft round pick.
And Karthik, if we're looking at numbers, they ain't pretty when you talk about offense.
No, for sure.
Bottom. I mean, 30th, 27th, 28th, everything.
Scored. Yeah,
brutally at the bottom.
It is one of those things that, hey, maybe they go on the road and they do pick up some wins. You just never know. If people were talking before that last loss to the Athletics in the Philly series, they'd be like, oh, man, this team's beating up on another AL West team. Here come the Padres again winning some games. I think it's a down note right now because they've lost 4 straight. But, hey, momentum can turn quickly. And, maybe those role players like Gavin Sheets gets back to what he was doing at the beginning of May, where he had like an over 1,000 OPS and was one of the better players in all of Major League Baseball, gets it going, or maybe another role player gets it going, or maybe, just maybe, the Stars finally get it going. We would love to see that, but I don't know. You never know. Padres could go in and they could win 4 or 6. I wouldn't be surprised.
It's interesting the thing you say about momentum. Yesterday, after the game against the Phillies, Walker Buehler had his post-game press conference that we were in. We were talking to him, and Walker, kind of on his own, brought up the fact that the San Diego Padres have always been a very momentum-based franchise. He said, even when I wasn't a part of the Padres, from the outside looking in, this was a team that always had that momentum rolling with them or against them. But whatever it was, they were really in the thralls of it. They were really in the thick of whatever that momentum was. So to your point, if they can get some of that momentum turned, that's fantastic. Maybe that's what they need. But to me, it just feels like the numbers scream so deep this season about how bad this offense has been. Yes, they've faced some really good pitching. Yes, they've run into some really good teams. But at the same time, it's just like we're staring at numbers that are telling us something else and trying to believe something differently given the track record of these players. That's a scary position to be in.
Well, maybe it's just what we thought. I mean, last year, they were a really streaky team, man. They're returning a lot of similar players. There were times last year where we were like, oh, my goodness, this team is hitting on very hot streaks. And then last year, we were like, oh, my goodness, this team can't hit for you know what. It was very ebbs and flows going through last year. And at the beginning of last year, through the first half of the season, their offense was terrible. And, as they got past the All-Star break, their offense started to uptick. It's hard to ever say. As I said at the beginning of the season, I was going to have a hard time always believing the team that couldn't slug. We were all of a sudden going to expect them to slug for big numbers. The numbers were going to just start pop off. That, that's an assumption that you're just hoping that the roster you bring back works. Sometimes it does. Look at the New York Knicks in basketball this year.
Shout out Knicks.
They pretty much brought back. I don't want to talk about that too much.
Shout out Knicks.
Cavaliers.
Shout out Knicks. Demolished the Cleveland.
Stop it, Jake.
Swept the Cavaliers.
Stop it right now, Jake.
Shout out Knicks.
But you can bring back the same roster. Sometimes it works, but sometimes it's just the same thing that you had previously because you know what you got.
Jake, one other thought about the Walker Buehler story you
shared.
shared.
I thought you were going to talk about the Knicks.
No.
No more Knicks.
His viewpoint is understandable, but especially because he was playing for the Dodgers, who spend $300 million a year on salary, and they just win all the time. So, of course, from his perspective, it would look like the Padres are a streaky bunch, which they have been. The other thing I might add, so much has been made about Fernando Tatis not hitting a home run, but in the last 2 weeks, he's hitting in the mid-300s. I would love to see Manny Machado bat .350 the rest of the season and finish with 2 home runs. That'd be a lot more power and presenting of offensive threat than what Mr. Manny Machado is doing right now, batting 169.
I mean, it is a great point. If Fernando was hitting 10 points lower on his average but had 6 home runs right now, it wouldn't be a conversation.
Right.
Yeah, they'd go, okay, Fernando's got to pick it up a little bit. But this wouldn't be a conversation at all. Fernando's getting on base.
Yep.
He's stealing bases.
He has
He's
a really
playing
good on-base
great
percentage.
defense both in right and at second. Like, he's still making some huge contributing factors to this team. Nobody wants to hear me say that because he hasn't hit a home run. Nobody wants to hear me say that because he hasn't been at this elite level. I get it. But he's still been a decent ball player for the San Diego. Now, decent's not fair with the contract he has, but he's still been a decent ball player for the San Diego Padres. It's these black holes in the lineup. It's this not hitting with runners in scoring position. Everyone knows what the issues are. The question is, can they fix them in this amount of time to make a decent run this year? That's what we're about to find out. We're going to come right back here on the final. Well, before I say that, any final thoughts on the Padres before we?
Nando for NL MVP.
Okay,
I
all
miss
right,
Tatis in right field, man. I'm tired of this second base mumbo jumbo.
I like the elite second base.
I
team
like
play.
him in right field. That's where he's a platinum glover, baby.
He could probably win a platinum glove at about 5 positions on the diamond would be my guess. Stick around. We'll be right back on the CBS 8 app, and we are talking World Cup when we come back. And welcome back to the final quarter here on the CBS 8 app. One last time for today, Jake Ariani, Karthik Venkatraman, John Howard. Folks, it is like nearly World Cup time. Been waiting 4 years for this thing. Now we are just about 2 weeks, a little over 2 weeks away. Earlier this week, we got the official rosters for the United States men's national team. I don't think there were any huge shockers. Maybe Tanner Tessman was the one people were going to get kind of on. But Mauricio Pochettino put out his roster. And here we go, you two. The excitement level building now that the World Cup is at our doorstep.
Yeah, what are we, 15 days away as we sit here today. The Americans obviously not given much of a chance to win this thing. Their odds are at plus 6,000. That's a win probability of 1.6%. Do you believe in miracles? Perhaps anything is possible, but I can't wait. And I think what's great about this year compared to even 4 years ago, soccer has continued to grip the American public, and especially here in San Diego with the San Diego Loyal, then kind of handing off the baton to the San Diego Football Club. I think we're going to see a lot more interest and fanfare for the World Cup in San Diego this year.
Yeah, for sure. I love the World Cup every single time it comes around. The passion, the culture, the pageantry of it all is absolutely incredible. The atmosphere is always incredible. As for the U.S. men's national team, I'll tell you what, if they don't make it out of their group with the group that they were handed to,
get out of that
this
group.
is going to be a nightmare. And
Yeah.
what worries me about the U.S. men's national team, not the 1.6% chance of winning the ball, because that's definitely not going to happen. No, John Howard, I don't believe in miracles when it comes to this football club. But what I will say is this is a team that's got to get it done. And the narrative around this team is pressure. They've got to get it done. They got to do this. They got to do that. Will Christian Pulisic play really well? Will he finally be that superhero that U.S. men's soccer has been hoping for and wanting? That face of the franchise, if you will, kind of guy. Hadn't had that in some time. And then for Mauricio, this guy's getting paid like $6 million. One of the highest paid national coaches, Mauricio
Pochettino.
He's been getting paid like $6 million, over $6 million. One of the highest paid national coaches for any World Cup team. If he were to get paid as much as he does, and the U.S. men's national team doesn't make it out of group play, that would be such an embarrassment. And why are we paying this man so much money? This team's got to get it done. They got to get out of group play, and I think they got to make a deep run. You don't pay a coach that much money for putting together a roster and not leading a team far if you're going to be one against the national ranks. I know you're trying to get this thing going with U.S. men's national soccer. They got to get this thing going, and they got to play well. I want to see some excitement, not this pressure. Can they get it done? I want to see they're going to get it done.
Karthik putting the pressure on. One thing I will say to add to that, the bar's been set pretty well at the last World Cup. The Americans went unbeaten in group play and advanced to the round of 16. That's pretty decent accomplishment. Would you be happy with round of 16?
They're on home turf. John Howard, get me to the semis at least.
Look. There's Pochettino has to get them out of group play. That really shouldn't even be part of the conversation.
Right.
The expanded play right this year in the World Cup. A ton of teams are getting out of group play. It would be an absolute disaster. That to me almost isn't even a topic of conversation. The United States absolutely must get out of group play.
We want a good showing, man. We want a good showing.
To that point, though, when you talk about a build-up and where this group is headed and what they're building at USMNT, like, I don't know how deep they go. I think a lot of that also depends on where they end up in knockout play, right? Like a lot of who's on the other side of that ball is going to matter. They could make a deep run if the chips fall the right way. They could also be knocked out right away. So some of those things are interesting. But, yeah, the question about getting out of group play with the expansion of the World Cup, the group they're in with Australia, Paraguay, Turkey, you got to get out of there. Let's hear from the United States men's soccer team, and in particular defender Anthony Robinson, talking about the World Cup, being on home soil, and a couple other things, the chemistry, all that stuff.
I mean, the chemistry, that doesn't need any work. We like this whole team, like, we see each other as brothers, we love each other, so we're all, like, you could see as soon as everyone's landed in the hotel and we're meeting up, everyone's so excited to see each other. And going forward, we've got, it's 2 friendlies to get through as well, which is going to be good prep for us, getting used to training, the conditions and whatnot, and then it's go time as soon as we get to LA, really. And expectation-wise, I'd like to hope the fans have got high expectations of us. I feel like we're a really good team, and they're going to want us to do well on home soil. And to kind of bring this sport to the popularity it deserves to be in America, then we're going to have to put on a really good show.
Yeah, fans have high expectations. We here at CBS 8 clearly have high expectations for this United States men's national team as the World Cup creeps nice and close. John, you heard from people that are a lot smarter than Karthik and I, as much as I appreciate our big brains, that know this sport inside and out. I'll let you kind of set this up.
Yeah, I got a chance to sit down and Zoom with Mr. Brian Quinn. He's the head men's soccer coach at the University of San Diego, doing the Toreros proud. Also a former member of the San Diego Sockers back in the 80s when they were the hottest ticket in town. He's also a former member of the U.S. men's national team, played for the U.S. men from 91 to 94, and we talked about a whole bunch of different stuff, but what we're going to show you right now, as Jake and Karthik and I were talking about, getting out of group play should be automatic. Here's Brian Quinn on how they will get out of group play.
I mean, the first game against Paraguay, that's a game that you cannot lose. You may not win it, but you can't lose it. And the reason I say that, John, is that what happens when you look at the World Cup and each game, it's not just like a one game. It's like the event itself takes up so much time, so much scrutiny, so much expectations, maybe pressure and non-pressure. But each game on its own is like a mini season, it takes on a life of its own. So you can't lose that game. And then the second game, you have Australia, and that's probably a must-win game to get out of the bracket. So now you're in good position if you've got a tie and you get a win. And then the last game against Turkey, who may arguably be the best team in the group, you kind of can shape that depending on what you need. If you need a tie, you need a win, you can tactically structure your team what you need to do. So I think they'll get out of the bracket. I mean, I do think 4 points will be enough to get out of the bracket. And there will be teams, as you said, that if you go with 3 ties, conceivably, because the expansion of the number of teams in the knockout play will qualify.
All right, everyone's on the same page. Get out of group play.
Yep.
It's crazy.
No doubt.
Isn't it crazy that we're even talking about it, man? Like, it's
Well,
just like
their history before the last
what
World
I'm
Cup.
saying is, like, we got to have higher standards. And yes, I get it. There's other countries that have these national teams, and all they care about in their country, soccer. Soccer is like what, our 4th, 5th highest probably like cared about sport in our country. I would like to see more interest because I want to see us perform on the stage. This is the stage that I love so much. So many people around the world care about this thing. And on the global stage of sports, I want to see USA, baby.
Well, and the last time the U.S. hosted was 94, I believe it was. And soccer was not as popular in the United States as it is now. So it's going to be very interesting to see, again, the hoopla and the pageantry here in America this year compared to 30-plus years ago.
Yeah, and Christian Pulisic talked about, hey, you get one World Cup on your home soil in your lifetime. You definitely want to make the most of it when you have that one World Cup on your soil in your lifetime. We appreciate you joining us here on the CBS 8 app. For Karthik, for John Howard, I'm Jake Garriani. Really appreciate it, and we'll talk to you next time.